Hello, one more day to Talking with Alicia. Today we are going to talk about resources and ICT in education. Now I'm going to talk about 3 elements of the teaching competence for a digital world. The first one is being an expert in digital educational content. It means to know how to teach the concepts to the students using ICT. A good teacher should not only be an expert in the content, but also in how to help a student learn that content. According to the Article 102 of the law, the teaching staff must be in constant learning and permanent training, being in line with the development of didactics and in harmony with the environment that surrounds us. Therefore, teachers must use technologies in an appropriate way, since the students are increasingly surrounded by technologies and will find it easier to learn some concepts using them. To develop this competence, we can carry out the following actions. The first action will consist on asking students to make a video talking about whatever topic they like, in order to develop their oral expression. We will use platforms such as YouTube to upload the videos. This tool is really simple, as we only need a mobile phone or camera to record the video and an account in YouTube or Vimeo to upload the video. They could feel as real influencers talking about whatever they want. As for my design of the activity within the ACAD framework, I will propose topics to talk about, give ideas on how they could be more original, etc. As far as the epistemic part is concerned, the video will have an average duration of between 2 and 3 minutes. The place to record can be anywhere, as long as there is good light and it can be heard well. They can also work individually or in groups of a maximum of 3 people. The second activity will consist of uploading each week to the Edmodo platform a post explaining what they have learned that week. They will form groups of about 4 or 5 students, and it will take place in class. The post can be of any kind, text, video, podcast, whatever they prefer. In my PLE, I will include incorporating connections with other professionals who are interested in technologies, in order to develop my educational skills. Also, I will include informing myself of the several educational platforms that exist, and that are being developed in order to create new activities. The second element is expanded reflective practical. This refers to the use of ICT in the reflective process of a teacher. That is to say, a teacher must know how to use ICT in the analysis of their practice, in the implementation, in the final evaluation, and in the search for improvements. According to our research on the use of ICT by teachers, a large percentage of teachers stated that they use technologies to search for educational resources, prepare classes, support classroom explanations, and even for assessment. Clearly, ICT helps us to improve our practice, and we obtain much more information and feedback if we use them. To develop this element of digital teaching competence, we can carry out the following actions. First, look for new teaching methods and implement them at least once a week. To do this, we will need a device with which to search for information about new methods, and the consequent devices we need to implement them. This will be carried out individually by the teacher, although it could be helped by research and advice from other professionals. As I said before, the teacher will implement them once a week, will search the information in his or her house and implement them in the class. Second, to analyze the learning of the students and see what we will improve, we can use tools like Edpuzzle or Edmodo, where we can create creative activities and small tests, where they demonstrate what they have learned with the new methodologies. We will need devices to develop these activities and an account on the platforms mentioned before. This will also be done by the teacher, and the students will be evaluated individually. Evaluation with ICT facilitates a greater frequency of evaluations as well as immediate feedback. Besides, it's really necessary in adverse times such as the current pandemic. In my PLE, I will include collecting information from research and experiences of other teachers on new methodologies in the classroom with the use of ICT. In addition, I will add carrying out new methodologies with the use of ICT, such as the activities with robots or augmented reality. The third element is to be able to use technology to expand our relationship with the student's family and environment. This element refers to the use of ICT to communicate with the families of our students and maintain a connection with the environment. This is important since cooperation between families and schools is a determining aspect in increasing student motivation towards schools. However, a small percentage of teachers make use of ICT to communicate with families. For this element, we could do a couple of things. First, create activities that parents can participate in. For example, I will create a Padlet in which a student will have to publish interviews, theater, or podcasts in English with their parents in order to develop their oral expression in English. We will need a Padlet account and other devices needed to develop the activity. A student will be able to do this in the classroom if parents are available. If not, they should do it at home. This will be a single publication after each lesson. In addition, we will communicate with parents through platforms such as Dinantia. We will need a Dinantia account and devices to access to the app. It will be carried out by the teacher individually in any place in order to communicate more easily with parents about excursions, homework, behavior, etc. In my PLE, I will include creating platforms to include parents in the learning process of their children and searching information about new platforms. Now let's talk about the 4 most important concepts that we have explored during this course. The first one is robots. A robot is a device that serves to perform functions that have been programmed by people. In the educational field, a robot performs didactic functions such as helping a student learn geometric shapes or colors. In this course, we have used the Rocky robot, which is an educational robot. With it, we have carried out activities with the children. It consists of 2 parts. One part which is the programming from a mobile device or computer, and the second part which is the physical device that executes the functions that have been programmed. It's really simple to use, and in addition, students usually adapt quickly to its use since they are accustomed to handle electronic devices. As an example, here we have the programmation of the Rocky using the M-Block webpage. In the sample, we can see how we are programming the Rocky to detect the black color. If the color is black, it will smile, if not, it will be angry. Then we can see a short video showing this. In class, we could use the Rocky to learn geography. The teacher could draw a map on the ground and give them a route to follow with the robot. On the route will appear the name of the countries or cities through which they must go, and they must program the Rocky to follow the route. We could even include maths, making the robot start and end in the same place, and asking what geometric figure the robot has drawn making the route. The second technological concept is an infographic. It is a graphic representation that expresses statements or ideas through a visual metaphor. It transmits a new understanding thanks to the arrangement of images and text. Infographics are ways of expressing certain complex information in an easy, simple and direct way to make it easier for the reader to understand, since these days people read very little and visual elements are needed to reach them. Nowadays, it seems that it's more important to exercise the body than the mind. However, this tool will help us to capture the reader's attention. It will also help us to process the information critically so that we can express it in the best way possible. There are several applications with which to make an infographic. Perhaps one of the simplest is Canva. Here we can see an example of an infographic made by us in this course about the digital competence of teachers. To use infographics in a practical case of class, we can include it as a science activity. For example, after studying the food pyramid, they will have to make an infographic where they demonstrate everything they have learned in a more visual way. The first theoretical concept is PLE. According to Adele and Castañeda, it's the combination of tools, source of information, connections, and activities each person uses to learn. In other words, it is about being aware of how we learn, what tools we use, what things we do, and with whom we interact to learn. The PLE has a face-to-face part, since we learn in physical environments such as libraries or educational centers, with people face-to-face and doing things without using technologies. But it also has a digital part that has surpassed the face-to-face one, since due to the advances of technology in this century, we have great facility to obtain information and communicate with other people thanks to it. Due to this great amount of information sources and resources, we must learn to manage our PLE, and we can help ourselves with applications such as Simbaloo, without forgetting that our PLE is not a tool but our learning environment. As I said before, we can manage our PLE with tools like Simbaloo. For example, this could be an example of my PLE. I receive information from sources such as Google Scholar, YouTube, TechTools, or from websites such as Educación 3.0. I also learn by interacting with other students through university forums or via email with teachers or other professionals, as well as by using social networks such as Telegram or LinkedIn. Finally, I learn by doing tasks using tools like Google Drive and Microsoft Office to make written reports or presentations, Powtoon to make animated videos, Pixabay and Flick to get royalty-free photos, tools like Canva to make original designs, and Evernote to organize or write down important things. And finally, the second theoretical concept is ACAD framework. The ACAD framework is an analytical framework that models emerging learning activities and is strongly inspired by activity theory. ACAD framework focuses on understanding how structures affect activities, knowing that human activity is goal-oriented and socially and physically situated. The design indirectly affects the activity that should emerge by designing the physical and social context in which the activity will take place, and by proposing ideas or suggestions about the activity. In other words, the ACAD framework is an activity-focused framework. The teachers should design where the activity will take place and what tools the student will use, whether it will be done in groups or individually, and will guide but not design the activity, providing suggestions or ideas of what they should do. Let's consider the previous example where we asked the students to make an infographic about the food pyramid. Using the ACAD framework as a reference in our teaching, we will proceed to design the activity in the 3 areas mentioned above: set design, epistemic design, and social design. As for the set design, the activity will be carried out in class, either with devices brought from home or provided by the school. As for the epistemic design, the infographic will be about the food pyramid, and we will be able to show them some examples of infographics so that they have an idea of what it is and how they can do it. Finally, as for the social design, it will be carried out in groups of 3 or 4 people. Based on the feedback of my classmates when they played the role of analyst, I consider that I deserve a good grade because I have been able to work well in a group, fulfilling the tasks I had to do and offering help to my classmates. At first glance, it might seem like the facilitator is the most important one, but since we are all so hardworking and organized, we didn't need that role so much. However, I think that the role of analyst is the most important one, since we had to go deeper into how we had worked that week and objectify the work of each person. In companies, the analyst has a fundamental role since he transforms the data into useful information to generate benefits in the company and continue improving. In our case, we will be talking about the analyst being the one who transforms our attitudes and our work of the week into information to continue improving. Although I consider the role of analyst to be the most important, the most challenging role for me has been the role of star, as I am a shy person and I get nervous when speaking in public. However, I know that it's very important and it allows us to gain influence and make a difference in our career. For this reason, and because I like to improve myself, I enjoy playing this role. Key elements of this course that I would like to include in my PLE. One of the key factors that I have learned in this course is active learning. That is, learning by doing, applying the theoretical content. For this reason, in my personal learning environment, I will include applying the theoretical contents, and not only searching for information and learning them, but also creating activities, such as the infographic we made with the elements of the digital competence of a teacher. In addition, I have learned to search for information on rigorous sites, such as educational pages like Educación 3.0 or Google Scholar. On the other hand, because we work in groups, and most of our time during this course we have been together, I have learned a lot from my classmates and I consider it very important to include the relationships with the classmates we are working with, in order to expand our knowledge and work in a more comfortable way.